Hey guys, it's Merrick, and I've got another gameplay commentary here today. In this one, I'm playing Planetside 2 on TR using the Carv, finally. Nothing specials on the Carv, just the forward grip. I'm also running the Decimator with Munition Suit for the auto reload and Sensor Shield. Normally I'm running either Survivalist or Sensor Shield. Sensor Shield is really nice because if you're not showing up on the map, or you're reducing the amount of time you're showing up on the map, it is less likely somebody's going to wide peek you or just suddenly peek you because they're reacting to where your dot was, giving you a little bit of more time to react in some situations. But this recording doesn't have a whole lot of time for me to talk and introduce everything, so we're going to jump straight into it. We're starting off here at Pale Canyon Chemical, and leaving the Sunderer, I managed to run straight up to the base, drop into a bad situation, and die immediately. It appears TR is heavily losing this fight because as soon as I get up again, Blue is pushing towards the Sunderer, so I just try to take some fights that I can from this angle. They're all terrible, so when I get up again, rather than taking the same terrible angle fights, I actually just rotate around and try to find another way to get back in. I rotate around the outside of Pale Chemical to the other building that you can actually enter in, and have a different angle that allows me to shoot at some of those corners that were actually pressuring the Sunderer. I managed to pick up one kill from there, and after a little while of looking around, it doesn't seem like we are getting pressured, and we kinda have enough clear room that I try to make a break for the next set of cover. I get lucky that an infiltrator didn't actually hit his shot, and then I'm able to pick up a guy pushing on the left side before I try to take some longer range shots at other people, and realize that I still don't know how the fuck to aim. After letting a few people get away, even though I had opportunity to kill them, I managed to pick up somebody else's kill by finishing him off with the last few shots, and then take the opportunity to run up to point before anybody else peeks. I managed to catch one as I head into the building, and then while I'm waiting for more to peek, I actually get kind of bored, start to rotate onto point, and see some of them are actually jumping up onto the balcony. So I go to rotate onto the staircase, only to get caught by some coming in the front door, and I'm out of position. I managed to trade one out, but I should have either completely disengaged or gotten that first kill and disengaged, but continuing to take the fight was a mistake, and I just really didn't think fast enough. On the run back, I catch a straggler outside, but I forget how to use my hands, almost lose the trade, take a moment to recover, and then push inside the building again. I don't actually find anybody, and a few minutes of rotating around and defending point shows nobody's actually pushing up to point, so we're going to fast forward a few minutes to where I actually start to go push up and fight them outside of their spawn. I'm not looking into a spawn room, we're fighting off to the side, so I don't actually feel all that bad about this one. As I peek the corner, I run into somebody with a scout rifle, which has an advantage on tight angle fights like that, but I'm able to trade out with him. I accept a res that is a questionable one at best, and then I go take the same fight on the same angle. Thankfully this time it's not against the scout rifle, and I am able to get a little bit more of a connection and get a little bit better of a trade, but I still overcommit and could have backed off sooner to get more out of the situation without sacrificing myself. Oh yeah, and in my desperation and not thinking, I auto-accept a res and just free die, because brain was not activated at the time. Moving on to something more enjoyable, I finally find a fight at a containment site where NC is pushing, but as I'm leaving spawn, the first thing I run into is a max that I have to deal with. In my infinite wisdom and unending skill, I wasted my AV nade and missed my decimator, so now I have to dance around and try to survive while I figure out another plan to deal with this max. Thankfully, some absolute mad lad had C4 and went straight in for the kill, loyalty until death, but he didn't get the kill, but I'm able to pick up on his sacrifice and bring honor to TR. And apparently, I dodged a bunch of blue people that were chasing me on that corner without realizing it as I rotated back to fight this first max, so I deal with those guys really quickly before realizing they brought a second max. I'm 1 for 3 on Decimator so far, so I'm really putting the fear of the Emperor into these maxes. But thankfully, the randoms that are around me are actually putting small arms fire into the max. And as I've said before, if you just shoot at the max, it will actually die. It takes a few people, but if you're shooting at it, hitting headshots, or just shooting at it, it will die. But this buys me enough time to reload, and I couldn't have gotten out of the situation without them. But as I push up to pressure, I go too far out, underestimating how many of them were there, and I promptly perish. As I die though, somebody pushes around the server and clears out a bunch of them, so I'm able to get picked up, and as I'm pushing out to clear this up, thinking it's just going to be a clean sweep, I round the corner to find there's a fuck ton more of them. I'm pretty sure that's metric. I panic and try to engage the guys in front of me, not realizing that some guys around on the server also got rezzed. They managed to get cleaned up by the guys behind me, I managed to kill the few that are in front of me, and as I push forwards, I feel like I saw a lot more of them and they all just vanished or something. I expect some bullshit, so I thought they might have been hanging outside of that doorway, and I wrapped around to try to get a flank, but there was literally only a single guy there, and I have no idea where the big ball of nerds went. But I do find another Max in the middle of a hallway. He's unattended and goes down pretty easily, but while dealing with him, I'm caught out of position by a slow trickle of blue, and there's not a whole lot that I can do about it. By the time I get back up, I don't see anybody in the bottom half of the base, but the population is still here, so I begin to push upwards, and I find a bunch of them as I make it towards their Sunderer. I don't exactly want this fight to end because I love Containment Site fights, and there isn't much else happening on the map at this moment, so I don't immediately move to murder their Sunderer, but as I've cleared them out and I see the amount of red that's here, it's very obvious that it's going to go down. So I rotate elsewhere. It takes me a little while to find somewhere to land, but I wind up at Shear. I run directly onto point, and because I've been deprived from a fight for all of 30 seconds, I make a terrible mistake and re-peek into somebody that's already tagged me and has a superior cover position. Naturally, it didn't work out. From there though, I'm able to get an actual hard spawn, and I just run to where I see the most blue dots on the map. I don't run infravision, so I hate fighting through smoke, and if I were to use my shield, I would just be a giant beacon in the darkness, so staring into a smoke cloud is not a fight that I'm pretty much ever going to win. So I rotate back downstairs just in time to see a large push coming in, and I try to thin out what I can. I don't get much of it, respawn at a very close ant, and begin fighting the exact same push yet again. I'm trying to take longer angles and work on my burst firing here to make sure I'm getting these kills, but there's so many people trying to push into that building that they're actually wrapping around the outside. This worked for me in some sense because I am guaranteed to have a longer angle on that corner than they are from this point, but I would much rather have some actual cover to deal with, because if that point inside collapses, I mean it's not even a point, that hold inside collapses, then I'm just going to get swung on that fucking server and I'm going to die instantly. Thankfully, it doesn't collapse. I'm able to push up alongside of the building and start getting more kills as we're getting more of a hold here. Population doesn't vanish, but eventually people stop pushing out of that building, and we don't know where they are, so I rotate around to where there was a Sunderer. It dies before I get there. I get a small cleanup, make sure it's secure, and then rotate back towards point to try to do something. As I'm rotating back, they push back into that initial building we were fighting on, but there's a whole lot of population there, and I can't really find an angle, so I actually start to deal with some of the air. And no sooner do I do than the high-skill ATG Brigade rolls by for their free kills, and we just move on to the next set. After being excessively outskilled by that shotgun flyby, I see some people pushing into the other side of the A-point building, and as I push up to try to fight them, I just push right into where I don't see anybody and manage to get triple peeked once. That was fun. As I drop back in, it looks like there's nobody there, but no sooner do I actually get on my feet that I see there's a ton of people, I'm out of position, and before I can rotate back into cover, they are cleared up by my allies. So we begin pushing back towards point A. As I begin to push up, I don't manage to punish this guy on the left, and then as I get into a fight, I overcommit being really greedy for kills and get taken out by somebody farther down the way I wasn't looking at. All of the spawns are murdered before I can respawn, so I'm forced to head elsewhere, and I wind up at Matherson's Triumph. We're attacking. It seems like there's a fair amount of defenses, so my first objective is to clear out infantry and try to make pressure in this courtyard so we can actually move the fuck across it. After we cleared out a few of the guys that were peeking the doorway, I only see one wrapped to the right side of the door, so I begin to clear the field. I see a max, but it looks like it's actually open enough. We are able to push across, and I don't find more engagements until we're trying to push into the other building, where I'm trying to fight at awkward angles. I overcommit just because I'm fucking greedy, and I die for free and have to run all the way back. As I'm running back, I don't see any red on their side of the courtyard on my minimap, and I see some blue moving throughout the yard, so I slow it down just in time to avoid dying to an VS infiltrator, and I miss a kill on this guy running across the field, only to have to fight a second infiltrator that I'm successfully able to get the kill on, thankfully. I decide to re-peek without shields or overshields, and thankfully I catch the guy off guard. I'm able to pick that up, and then I do let my shields recharge before I try to take another fight. Unfortunately, it's very obvious that they're pushing across the yard, so I'm not trying to push too far out, I'm just trying to take angles and get fights. At least that's what I thought. I swept the field and there wasn't anybody there, so I'm able to look up in time to see these guys coming down the stairs to fight us, but I'm at an unfavorable angle, can't seem to get my shots over the banister, and I just fall over, lacking both control and positioning in that fight there. I respawn, and we're barely even have a foot in this building. I have to fight on the doorway, I don't manage it, and trying to wrap around the side, I also can't seem to find anything, as the pop has been dropped directly on our foreheads. Vacating that 70-30, I move back over to Pale Canyon, where I find a good angle on some guys on the staircase. I'm overcome with a sense of urgency, and I don't actually let my recoil reset enough, so even though I'm trying to kill them through that viewport before they actually get out of my line of sight, I make it harder for myself by making my shots go everywhere. I then stay way too long, being way too greedy, and somebody walks out of the other door and murders me. Running it back, I'm able to push up to the building and push in that door the guy pushed out from. I don't really see anything on the first floor, so I push upstairs, and I'm actually able to wrap around and get a flank on the guys on the enemy staircase. I managed to barely get anything out of this, but we do get this cleared up. I move around to try to push onto point, and as I see somebody jump up onto the side, I push across to deal with him, and somebody kills him before I get there, so I just deal with the next building. I see somebody die on the first floor, and I try to chase down their killer, thinking he's in the corner. He's not in the corner, so I push up the staircase. I see one guy run around the corner, and as I go to fight him, somebody peeks out and fights me. I panic, miss all of my shots, don't let my recoil reset before I ADS, and die for free. I kept my composure and burst fired correctly. I would have at least gotten 2 guaranteed, potentially more depending on how they reacted and if I had headshots. But from there, I move over to Snowshear Fort. I ran around for a little while without anything happening. I get a fight on this doorway, and then I actually catch an infiltrator that was running up on me. I'm holding this angle so tight that this guy on the right side, this NS, actually can get a very free shot on me without me seeing him. But as I go to chase him down, he's nowhere to be found. So as I'm redeploying, I grief some of the air and then see where we're going to wind up. There's not a whole lot to work with, so I head to Envari Barracks on the next hex. I push up and hear a max before I see it, and then I actually see an opportunity because nobody's peeking me, and I swing into the point room, manage to clear out the 2 people in there, only to have a few people walk in after me. I deal with the late arrivals fairly well, and I actually could have cleared all of them out if I played this better. I misplay because I'm in the zone and I'm panicking, I'm trying to make sure I'm hitting headshots, but I didn't realize I actually had a very large opportunity to shuffle out of the doorway, pull out my decimator, and then trade the max. I did enough damage to him just with my butcher that I actually would have killed him with just a decimator by itself and no nade. But it's fine, because I walk back just in time to get outskilled by an infiltrator. I walk back, and I run into the point room pretty uncontested, but I have no intention of picking up the flag, so I just use this as an opportunity to get behind the enemy lines and wreak havoc. I managed to take out 2 for free on the flank, and then successfully turn on this stalker infill. Between the population difference and the amount of infiltrators, I have no intention of picking up that flag, so I'm just rotating around trying to get kills and hopefully letting more pop roll in that can also pick up the flag and begin playing the point while I do control of zone. So, I push up, take out some of their recon darts, and then continue securing buildings. I run into yet another infiltrator, but from here pushing up to the building, we actually don't find anybody. I'm not going to stick around long enough to do all these captures, and I don't think they're respawning, so I redeploy and relocate myself to a different fight. Fortunately, I'm able to find a containment site fight, and I'm here early enough that the fight is still at ground level, so there's a high possibility that this is going to be a good fight. No sooner do I say that than we actually break their hold on the ramp and push up. But when we get up here, we see there's actually a hell of a lot of vehicles, and they just haven't actually set up, so the push hasn't even really begun. I also hear a bunch of maxes, so I retreat to the bottom of the ramp so I can't be immediately one-tap shotgunned. I whiff my rocket shot, and then I follow up with the butcher, trying to prevent people from getting down the ramp. They pop a smoke, so I smartly turn off my shield because that'll just make me a very easy target if anybody peeks me. And by saying I do that, I mean I wish I did, but I'm fucking stupid and didn't make that play despite how obviously correct it is. Being out there peeking at all was risky because somebody could have had infravision even if I didn't have my shield on, but standing out there with my shield on is basically asking to be shot in the face. So we're going to begin bringing this video to a close with 65 kills in 33 minutes. This video had some big ups and downs, with sometimes me forgetting how my hands worked, and other times my hands forgetting that I'm actually washed up. I did talk about some better decisions I could have made and some times where I misplayed, and I hope you guys were able to get something from that. As always, let me know what you guys do like, let me know what you guys don't like, let me know what you guys think so I can improve these videos moving forward. Thank you guys for your continued support, and I'll see you guys next time. Potentially in a part 2.